The next rule is seek balance in every area of life. So I alluded to that in the previous rule. The basic idea is extremism, rigidness, those are all attachment ways of thinking. So you think in a way that's attached to a particular idea or a particular methodology. Bruce Lee said it in a great way. He said he lived by the principle, he wore around his neck a medallion that said, "No way is the way." So, in a way, what that means is that you let go all of your preconceived ideas about what the way is and try to find the path for what's in front of you. 99.99999% of the time, that's the way of balance. And that's what the Buddha spoke of in his teachings, is this middle path. The middle path is not a place of no emotions. It's not a place of sort of being a doormat or sort of being a pacifist or any of that kind of stuff. It's really seeing both of the extremes and seeing the flaws in both of the extremes. Fundamentalists of any breed, those are all extreme positions. Those extreme positions have really no basis in reality. What they have a basis in is ego identity. But there's kernel of truth in each one of those. And the kernel, I don't know exactly what the kernel and the truth of each one of those is, but it has something to do with our need to belong, to have a sense of security, to have a sense of tradition and culture. In the Chinese culture, there's Confucianism on one side and Taoism on the other side. So if you're 100% Confucianist, you're on one extreme. If you're 100% Taoist, you're on the other extreme. You know, the Taoists say that they're seeking the balance, but really the most Taoist way to live in the world would be to embrace half of Confucianism and half of Taoism. Then you're really balancing the yin and yang of stuff. So people say that they're practicing Taoism. In essence, they're being very extreme and they're not honoring the balance of the two sides. So the essence of Taoism is that balance between a rigid, structured, male-dominated world and a more fluid, rule-less, nature-based, feminine world. So the vital path, the path of reality, the path of fulfillment, the path of health is a balanced path. So for example, in yoga, Hatha yoga means sun and moon, and that's a balanced state between the sun element and the moon element, which is a balanced state in the physical body. So when I used to teach yoga, people used to always think like, oh, it's about stretching. Totally not what it's about. It's about finding a balanced state in the body. And so someone who comes in as super limber is like, oh, I'm really good at yoga. It's like, no, you're not. Someone who's really good at yoga has a full balanced body and mind. So someone who's really flexible but not very strong, I would put them in all strength building poses. And they're like, oh, yoga's so hard. And that's the same thing. Someone who's super tight but super strong, I'd put them in all stretching poses. And then they'd be like, okay, yoga's really hard. And that's because achieving the center place, the balanced place, it seems like it should be this easy place to be, but it is not at all. I met a few years back a very fundamentalist political guy who was a general contractor, a store when I was doing a remodeling project. And he was telling me how it was easier to talk to fundamentalists on his side of the political spectrum and fundamentalists opposite side of the spectrum, and that he couldn't talk to people in the middle. And that's very interesting because that's super, super true. Because a fundamentalist, in their rigid interpretation of reality, will have more in common, even if they're on the opposite side of the spectrum, as a fundamentalist on the opposite side of the spectrum than someone in the middle. Because someone in the middle is going to start balancing and seeing both sides to the equation and asking questions. Another part about being balanced is to ask questions and to learn how to ask better questions and to be open to the answers. So all of these rules for living kind of feed each other. So cultivate balance in every area, in your body, in your mind, in your emotions, in your finances, in your home, in your job, in your relationships. And that's not going to be an easy task. You need to start peeling apart where you live at the extreme. It may be an idea, it may be a practice. One of my favorite yoga teachers when I used to be heavily involved in the yoga scene in Los Angeles, he would always say, stop pushing yourself, because most of the people that were drawn to his class were really high achievers. And they needed to hear, and he was a really high achiever, so they needed to hear the message that balance looked like stop pushing yourself. Now, on the other side of that, if you're a super low achiever, you need to push yourself more. So there's that place of balance that's in between both of those extremes, and it's in every realm of life. I could talk on for hours about the way to go and balance in all the different realms of life, and maybe that'll be another talk, but that's enough for now.